Floating slums, also known as floating shantytowns or aquatic slums, are unofficial communities that are situated on bodies of water such as rivers, lakes, and coastlines. The majority of the time, the living conditions in these communities are deplorable, and there is an excessive number of people living there with lack of access to basic comforts. Millions of people throughout the world who are forced to select between a limited number of housing options decide to live in slums that are constructed on water, despite the numerous difficulties that this choice presents. Number 5. Klong Tui Slum, Bangkok. There are more than 100,000 individuals that call the banks of the Chao Phraya River in Thailand their home. The neighborhood is made up of shacks, some of which are built up on stilts and are linked to one another by means of congested pathways. In their day-to-day existence, residents of Klong Tui are confronted with difficulties such as the danger of flooding, limited access to sources of clean water, and pollution. The neighborhood of more than 100,000 people who call this place home is home to a diverse group of individuals. Even though they've been living in the same place for decades, many people still do not own the homes in which they currently reside. The size of the slum is around 1.5 square kilometers, and the ground is relatively low and marsh-like in appearance. Many of the tin-roof dwellings are perched precariously on stilts over water that has become dirty and stagnant. The Klong Tui market is the largest wet market in the city and is located in the neighborhood of Klong Tui. The Klong Tui market is one of the major fresh food markets in Bangkok. Therefore, it is highly possible that many of the dishes that tourists enjoy while they're in the city contain ingredients that were purchased from this market. The fish that have been just caught from the river fill the market with their pungent odor, which assaults the senses of those who come to visit. The market appears to have no end, and one might spend a good deal of time looking around it. Number 4. Can Tho Floating Market, Vietnam. It is a thriving business and financial center as a result of its location in the Mekong Delta. In this part of the world, it's not uncommon to find markets that float on water. A market for people in Can Tho is essentially a place where you can go to sell and buy products that are above water. The market is comprised of hundreds of boats, many of which are occupied by merchants who are attempting to sell their wares within the market. You will not only get the opportunity to watch how people sell and buy things on the Can Tho floating market, but you'll also have the chance to experience the simple way of life of the Vietnamese people by enjoying a variety of street dishes such as pho, bun rio, com tam, and hủ tiao. Because their cost is so low at about $1, you can easily stuff your stomach with a satisfying dinner while spending very little money. The floating market is an important source of income for a large number of people in the area. However, it is also plagued by environmental problems such as overfishing and pollution. Despite its importance, the area is plagued by these issues. Number 3. Jambi Floating Market, Indonesia. This bustling commercial hub can be found in the area bordered by the Jambi River and its tributaries. The market is comprised of hundreds of boats, many of which are inhabited by merchants who are engaged in the business of selling a wide variety of goods. Despite the fact that the floating market is a vital source of cash for a great number of individuals in the vicinity, it is besieged by issues such as an excessive population and pollution. Located at number 2. The floating slums of Lake Titicaca, Bolivia. Lake Titicaca is known for its long and illustrious cultural history, which spans several millennia and is steeped in religious mythology as well as old rituals. All of the great civilizations that have ever lived in the area around South America's largest lake have held a reverence for it as a holy site. It's not difficult to fathom the reason for this when one considers the spectacular backdrop of the Cordillera Real Mountains against which one views the placid blue waters of the lake. These slums served as the residential neighborhood for a significant number of indigenous peoples who make their homes on the lake on small boats and floating islands. Because these communities do not have enough access to education, healthcare, or clean water, they are more likely to be affected by extreme weather occurrences and are put in jeopardy as a result. These inhabitants rely heavily on tourism as their primary source of revenue, and as a result, many of them have relocated to the mainland while keeping their huts standing as tourist attractions. Each island switches which one of their businesses cater to tourists on a regular basis. Number 1. Makoko Slum, Lagos, Nigeria. Makoko is also the ultimate nightmare for the state administration, since it is a slum that is in plain view and is spread out underneath the bridge in West Africa's largest city that sees the greatest traffic. It is situated on the Lagos Lagoon and is home to a population of around 300,000 people. It is estimated that 2,000 individuals arrive in Lagos every single day, with many of them settling in informal communities such as Makoko. Immigrants who belong to the Ugan ethnic group established the community in the latter half of the 19th century as a fishing settlement. They relocated onto the sea as the population continued to grow and the land became scarce. People from a wide array of riverine towns along Nigeria's coast have made the Makoko their home in modern times. The neighborhood is connected to the mainland by a series of wooden bridges, and the houses that make up the community are either built on stilts or are floating constructions. The people who live in Makoko are up against a number of obstacles, including limited access to clean water, sanitation facilities, and power. Floating slums are, in general, a significant and multifaceted problem that needs the attention of local populations as well as governments, international organizations, and international bodies. This is because the problem requires all of these parties to work together. These communities, in spite of the fact that they're presented with a number of obstacles, continue to provide a secure sanctuary and a source of income for millions upon millions of individuals. Quote, "Despite the challenges and difficulties faced by those living in floating slums, they've shown resilience and resourcefulness in creating communities on the water. However, it is important to remember that the existence of floating slums is often a symptom of larger social and economic issues. Effort should be made to address the root causes of poverty and lack of affordable housing, to ensure that all people have access to safe and dignified living conditions."